Welcome, everybody, to the Sunday edition of the Huddle Hub Podcast. My name is Metal Mike, and I'm joined here, as always, on a Sunday morning with the man with the best beer in the business. My co-host here every Sunday morning, Mr. Cam G. Cam, how you doing on this wonderful football Sunday?
I'm doing great. Other than the fact that I have a little bit of syrup in my beard from breakfast, but other than that, I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing fantastic. I would like to give a shout out. I don't like to have to start things off on a sad note, but this guy was a pretty big part of my childhood, as a lot of people. His name was Guy Moon. He was the composer, the music composer for a lot of popular shows such as Fairly Odd Parents, Cow and Chicken, Ned's Declassified, Big Time Rush, so on and so forth. And he just tragically passed away on the 8th in a car crash. He was 63 years old. Like I said, definitely just a guy that I think just molded and shaped a generation, I think, and a very big part of, like I said, my childhood and a lot of people my age, essentially. So, yeah, Guy Moon, my thoughts and prayers go out to his family and things like that. So, definitely a big loss just in the industry, I would say. So for sure, Guy Moon. Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't say starting it off on a gloomy note, because when you have somebody, even if you knew them, whether you didn't know them, somebody that impacted your life and especially your childhood, seeing that, we're getting older, we're getting into deep adulthood, somebody that inspired us in our childhood and may have helped us get to where we are or where we want to be. A couple of weeks ago, and I was telling you this off air, I shouted out, I sent a shout out to Stuart Scott about 2 weeks ago. Now, Stuart Scott was an ESPN analyst who was very well known in the sports world. And it was 11 years of his passing. And yeah, it was 11 years, but I feel like he deserves recognition, not only on a day of mourning of his passing and remembrance of him, but I feel like he's somebody that deserves, thoughts and everything every day, because he's inspired so many people to do what we do here, sports announcing and analyzing and stuff like that. So this is somebody that you grew up on. This is somebody that that either inspired you or just helped you get through, things that you were going through as a kid, So the way I look at it is, it's not starting off gloomy. We're starting off remembering and celebrating a life other than a gloomy start to the day. So if it is gloomy, by all means, you know me, Cam, I don't take any feelings away from anybody, because everybody deserves to feel any way they feel. But I would have to say it's more of a celebration of life than a gloomy start to a day. So, but yeah, sending out prayers and thoughts and everything to his family, and to somebody that may have helped somebody get through a tough time just by watching the shows that he took part in. So, definitely sad news. But yeah, man. Super Wildcard Weekend, Cam.
Yes.
Crazy start to Super Wildcard Weekend. 2 very, very good games last night. Very, very good games. And I'm going to say this. I said it on yesterday's show that I think a lot of people are underestimating the Carolina Panthers, thinking that the Rams were going to go in and completely annihilate them. Carolina almost pulled it off. Almost. An 8-9 team. And I said it. Who cares if they're 8-9? This is a whole different ball game. This is a whole new season. Everybody is 0-0 at this point. And Carolina losing 34-31 to the Los Angeles Rams, I think, speaks volumes for the Rams moving forward in these playoffs. And it shows that whoever plays the Rams next, whether it's Philadelphia or whether it's San Francisco, I don't know. Or no. It would hold on. Let me think here. I don't think it would be. It would be if Philadelphia wins, then they would head to Chicago. Los Angeles would head to Seattle. And if San Francisco wins, then it would be San Francisco to Los Angeles. Or no, Los Angeles to Seattle. And no, San Francisco to Seattle and Los Angeles to Chicago. That's how it would be. So lowest seed remaining goes to the 1 seed. But Cam, your thoughts on last night's game, man? I mean, the Packers-Bears. Packers had a hold of that game up until the fourth quarter and completely blew it, basically. And the Bears are moving on to the divisional round of the playoffs, hosting another playoff game next week, whether it's going to be Philadelphia, whether it's going to be, whatever team. As soon as everything gets figured out, your thoughts on last night's games, man. Rams, Panthers, and Packers, Bears.
Well, it is absolutely insane. Coming out of the first half, the Bears only had 3 points. That was it out of the first half. They came back out in the second half and scored 28 points. 19 of those were unanswered in the fourth quarter alone. So just a complete breakdown from the Packers and their defense. I don't know what happened to them, but definitely the Bears, once again, pulling off yet another, probably their 10th at this point, fourth quarter comeback. Yeah, they're just the comeback kids. I don't know how they keep getting away with it. They can't keep getting away with it, right? I mean, it's impossible. But hey, like I said, there were some people that were counting them out or saying, hey, they don't look good. They don't look good at all. They kind of look like the Bears from week 1, week 2. They start off kind of hot, moving the ball really well, and then they just kind of fade away. So Caleb Williams didn't look the best, I don't think. But like I said, again, he definitely pulled together in that second half and won this game. So we'll definitely have to see what happens to them now that they're moving on. So I think they wait to see who they play next, I think. And so we'll definitely have to see who they play next. But overall, this was a good game. And like I said, I don't know if I'm believers in the Bears yet. I really don't. I don't know how many more times they can keep starting off first halves like that. And then and just getting away and just keep pulling off victories like this. But again, we'll see.
It's crazy to see teams like, the Packers and Colts who started off hot this season. Packers started off as one of the best teams in the NFC. Then they go to Cleveland and they lose to Cleveland. They go to Dallas and get that tie, literally 2 weeks in a row. Lose to Cleveland, tie in Dallas. It's like, it's like you start off hot. Indianapolis, I mean, they were the best team in the league the first 10 weeks, and then they just dropped off.
Yeah.
And now they're sitting at home. They're not even in the playoffs.
Yep.
Like Chicago, I'll say this. They are basically reminding me of what Kansas City did last year. Kansas City won by less than a score in like 10 ball games last year. They rode their way to the Super Bowl. So could Chicago continue doing this? No. I think even if they make it to Super Bowl 60, they're going to meet their maker. They're going to meet their match at some point in this playoff. I do not think Caleb Williams and Chicago are hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. They're far from that. But they took a step forward this year. Ben Johnson came in and turned that team around very quickly. Green Bay, I think, here's the thing is they took their foot off the gas pedal in the fourth quarter. Chicago, who was in basically neutral up until the last 11 minutes of the game last night, decided, we're going to hit the turbo, and now we're going to come back and we're going to win. All game, and I was saying it to you all game, I was like, man, Chicago's done. They're done. And I know there's many times this season where I've said that about teams watching games. There have been many teams who took their foot off the gas this year and let teams come back. I was looking up the scores for teams like the Raiders and teams that basically crap the bed, the Tennessee Titans, and a lot of those teams that are out of the playoffs only won 3 or 4 games this year. They didn't lose by much. There's a lot of games where they fell. Now, would they have had a good enough record to make the playoffs? No, they wouldn't have. But they would have had a better record than they finished with. And some of these teams that finished, 3-14, 4-13, 5-12, 7-10 could have been better than what they were. But they lost ball games. And it was as simple as that. So, Green Bay, they took their foot off the gas fairly early this season. They fell to 9-7-1. They were looking like the best team in the NFC the first couple weeks, and then they just fell off. Somebody asked me the other day, who do you think goes to the Super Bowl? And I said, I can't say that. I can't say who I think. Reason why is because this field is so open. There is no dominant team in this playoff. The Denver Broncos, I mean, look at them. How many games have they won by one score or less this year?
Yeah.
Okay. They're 14-3. Seattle Seahawks. Seattle Seahawks remind me of last year's Minnesota Vikings. They do. You look at the Minnesota Viking team from last year, and then you look at the Seattle Seahawks team from this year. Sam Darnold, 14-3 last year, didn't win the division, lost in the wild card round of the playoffs to the Rams. In a game that had to take place in Arizona because of the wildfires in California. He now goes to Seattle, goes 14-3, same record, but this time wins the division and gets home field advantage because of how weird this year has been. I don't see Seattle making it far. Whoever goes into Seattle next week, I think will go in and beat Seattle. Simple as that. I do. Whether it's San Francisco, whether it's Los Angeles, whoever goes into Seattle next week, I think beat Seattle. If Green Bay won that game last night, I think they could have went in and beat Seattle. So, we'll have to see what happens. But I can't answer who I think is going to Super Bowl 60 because there is no dominant team in this playoff. This is a wide open field. Yeah. I will say there is one team that does have an open door to get to that promised land, and that is the Buffalo Bills. No Patrick Mahomes, no Joe Burrow, no Lamar Jackson to compete with. So Josh Allen, this is your year to get there. You kick off at 1 o'clock today, and we're going to talk about that game in a little bit, but the door is wide open for you. Don't drop the ball. So, Cam, I got a little bit of news to come out of the world of the NFL that came out last night. Real quick, Ikem and Ekwonu, left tackle of the Panthers, left the game last night with a knee injury. It is very unknown how severe his knee injury is. Obviously, the Panthers, they're done. They got eliminated last night. So his injury, he'll be able to recover from it, regardless of how serious it is, because it's not going to affect the Panthers moving forward because they're done. But he left the game last night with a knee injury. Josh Palmer, wide receiver of the Bills, is going to be out. He was placed on injured reserve, so he is done for the playoffs. Because when you end up on injured reserve, you were on IR for the minimum of 4 weeks. I mean, he'll be back for the Super Bowl, if anything. That's it.
Yeah.
But he's done. Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver of the 49ers, he is questionable for today against Philadelphia. So let's get into the coaching carousel, though. Cam, a lot of coaches fired. This season and in the past 2 weeks. But there are teams setting up interviews. The Tennessee Titans have set up many interviews for their head coaching position. Lou Anarumo, the Colts defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, the Chiefs defensive coordinator, Matt Nagy, the Chiefs offensive coordinator, Vance Joseph, the Broncos defensive coordinator, Jason Garrett, former Cowboys head coach. He was the head coach before Mike McCarthy in Dallas, looking to come back to coaching. Mike McCoy, Titans interim head coach. He was the senior offensive assistant, and he took over after Callahan got fired. He took over as the interim. And the number one on their list, Kevin Stefanski, former Browns head coach. That is the list of head coaches for the Tennessee Titans. Cam, if you had an opportunity, and let me ask you this, if you had an opportunity to go coach the Tennessee Titans, would you want that job?
Maybe it really depends. I mean, I think they have a good start with Cam Ward at quarterback, because I told you, even with these bad teams, I mean, you have to look at what they have that's good, and if they don't have a good quarterback, they don't have anything.
Yeah.
So I think they have a good quarterback at Cam Ward, but they need a lot of work. I definitely think they need a better O line. I would say they need some better weapons for Cam Ward. And then, like I said, it probably needs to be a complete defensive overhaul as well. So I mean, that team has a lot of work to do. So it really just depends, I guess, what the organization is willing to willing to spend to get the help that I think Cam Ward needs to turn around that team. So that's a very difficult question to answer because it's really just dependent on the organization and what and the direction that they want to go. Do they really want to win? Is the real question. You know, are they willing to, like I said, really transform this team into a winning team next season? Is really the major question here. So.
When you look at their free agent list, when you look up the guys that are on their free agent list, guys that they're losing, that they're going to have to sign contracts with. I mean, small contracts. You're looking at 1.2, 1.4, 1.1. A couple players that are probably second stringers, $870,000, $840,000. As far as contracts, a lot of guys that are 25 years old or older. There's a couple guys on this list that are under 25 years old. Not many. This is going to be a complete overhaul of the Tennessee Titans. If I was interviewing for the head coaching job in Tennessee, I would make sure that if you are hiring me, you make sure that if it's a 3-year contract, that you are guaranteed 3 years no matter what.
Yeah.
Meaning you can't get fired after year one, because you're going to have to build a team, and it's going to take longer than a year to build that team, get them together and get them on the field and working together. Okay. Yeah. So if I was getting hired in Tennessee, I would be putting in my contract guaranteed 3 years, and you let me finish all 3 seasons in completion. You cannot fire me midway. You need to give me time, because you look at this roster and they are doing a complete overhaul in a sense. That's what
a
I
good
would
point,
say.
because I mean, a lot of these teams don't really. I mean, 1 year and they're gone. I mean, look at Pete Carroll. 1 year, he's gone. So that's a good point.
No opportunity to turn that Vegas team around. None whatsoever. And
I'm surprised, honestly. Yeah, really, I am. I thought they would give him. I thought they would have given him at least another year.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I agree. I would have thought they were going to give him at least another season to try and get that team together. And especially with going out there and only winning 4 ball games.
Yeah.
You won 4 ball games, 5 ball games, whatever the case may be. You got the number 1 overall pick in the draft. This man has a knowledge for football. Let him sit in that war room on draft day in round 1 and help you pick your guy of the future, which at this point is Fernando Mendoza. I mean, when Caleb Williams got drafted by the Bears, all that talk happened when he was, when college football was just ending that year.
Yeah.
So all the talk about Fernando Mendoza going to Vegas is it's inevitable, unless Vegas turns around and blockbusters us and says, another player opposed to Fernando Mendoza on draft day, like the Bears did back in 2018 with Mitchell Trubisky. But still, it's the point of they should have gave him another year, because they gave him nothing to work with.
Yeah.
Nothing. That team was a disaster. You can't expect him to come in. Yes, he may have a great football mind, but you cannot expect him to come in and turn that team around the way it was built.
Yeah.
Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator of the Ravens, he interviewed with the Browns yesterday. Anthony Weaver, defensive coordinator of the Dolphins, he interviewed for the Falcons head coach position. Clint Kubiak, he interviewed for the Seahawks and Dolphins head coaching positions. He's the Seahawks offensive coordinator. He interviewed for the Falcons and Dolphins. David Shaw, he is the pass game coordinator out in Detroit, interviewed for the Buccaneers offensive coordinator position. Israel Wolfork, he's the quarterback coach out in Arizona. He also interviewed for the Bucs offensive coordinator position. So a lot of interviews this is going to be continuing news until teams start hiring. I mean, the Falcons, yesterday announced that they hired Matt Ryan. And how they worded this was so weird to me. I'm guessing it's football operations, but they hired him as the president of football. That's all it said. Is it football operations? Is that what it is? Is what part of football is he hired? And I'm going to guess it's operations. That's what I'm going to guess. So, but Matt Ryan is now the president of football in Atlanta, and very much so. I mean, he knows Atlanta.
Yeah.
You know, he's there for years, took the team to the Super Bowl against the Patriots back Super Bowl 52, the famous 28-3 game. So, and the Dolphins got their new general manager as well. So, a lot of teams making moves in the coaching area when it comes to things. So we'll continue keeping our eye on what's going on in the coaching carousel and keeping our eye on who gets hired where and what things are going to look like in 2026. Cam, my one question for you is, we know the hottest free agent coach right now is John Harbaugh. Okay, fired from Baltimore after 18 seasons. Couple teams on this list that he can go to: the Browns, Dolphins, Giants, Cardinals, Falcons, Titans. Your team's in that division, Cam. You know John Harbaugh very, very well as a head coach, with him being in your division as a Steelers fan. Where do you think he ends up?
Yeah, to me, it's very difficult to imagine him in Tennessee or Atlanta. This doesn't seem like it fits very well. Or the Dolphins, for that matter. These teams that just don't have a very good foundation, or teams that I feel like keep hitting the reset button. And like I said, it's difficult for them to try to turn around their organizations, because when they get something going and then it ultimately falls apart, they want to hit the reset button the year after. So yeah, it's no wonder why some of these teams are disasters, because it just keep hitting the reset button. So I just don't see him going to teams like that. There's just too much work to be done. I think he needs to go to a foundation that's already kind of set in stone. They just need to be put on the right path, the path, to success. So I could definitely see him in blue. I could definitely see him going to New York and being head coach of the Giants. It makes too much sense to me. Okay. There's all this talk about, him growing up a Browns fan. But again, like I said, it's another organization I feel like that keeps hitting the reset button. However, they do have a good foundation with, on the defense, or like their biggest defensive threat with Myles Garrett, just hitting just breaking the record for most sacks in a single season. And then, of course, Shedeur Sanders, being the brightest, I think, amongst them on offense. So, yeah, there's some foundation there that I think is being repaired. And, again, they just need a leader, a good coach to set them on the right path. So I could kind of see it. It's just all about, whether or not is this going to be the same old Browns, bottom of the division again, or are they actually going to be set up this time for success? But him going to New York, I can just see it. Again, I told you about this a while ago with, people like, Malik Neighbors and Cam Scatterboo and Jackson Dart. These guys are changing the culture around for New York. And with somebody like John Harbaugh, I think that's a major splash. That would tell me that this organization is serious about getting back to their winning ways and really winning another championship. So I could definitely see him out in New York. Now, in terms of him being, him potentially coming to Pittsburgh, I mean, I wouldn't mind it. Honestly, I mean, him and Mike Tomlin have had so many classic freaking wars against each other, division battles, playoff battles, win it all type battles like they had in week 18, so many battles. And I feel like he definitely would know, number one, the AFC and of course the AFC North. And I feel like he would definitely look at this organization or look at what they've been doing and their schemes and how they play and things like that. And would definitely want to just rip the script up and really change some things around. Because I think that's Tomlin's biggest Achilles heel is the fact that he's very conservative on how he wants to run this team, and I feel like he keeps doing some of the similar things over and over and over again, expecting a different result. Whereas Harbaugh, I believe, would definitely want to come in there and shake things up. So I wouldn't mind it. It just makes too much sense. Again, it would definitely feel very weird to see Harbaugh in black and yellow versus black and purple. But no, it would be definitely something that I could see. happening. And again, back to the Steelers, like I said, the number one thing that I think would have to happen is, win or lose come Monday night. I would say after this season is completely done. I would have to say they have to let him walk. Whether or not they just let his contract expire, because I just don't believe that they would ever pull a trigger in firing him.
No.
So I would just just say that they would just have to have his contract expire and not renew it. Come back for whatever 2026 season, and then I think he signed a contract extension in like June, I think, of that year when he signed a contract extension. So in June of 27, it would just expire and just let Tomlin walk. And that's the number one way that I think they would have to get rid of Tomlin if that's the way they decide to go after the season is completely finished. But New York is the spot that I really could see him going to. It just makes too much sense. It really would put them on the right track, I think.
I mean, there is a lot of talk about what Pittsburgh's going to do once their season is over, regardless of whether they lose in the wild card round Monday night against Houston, or they make it all the way to Super Bowl 60. A lot of talk on what's going to happen with the Mike Tomlin situation. As far as John Harbaugh, seeing him on the Giants sideline, I mean, you think of him, and you just talked about his rivalry with Mike Tomlin. When you think of the AFC North, you think Steelers, Ravens, that big rivalry.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest rivalry in that division.
Yeah.
You look at the NFC East, biggest rivalry is the Cowboys and Eagles. Eagles and Giants, two big rivalries in that division. You look at the NFC North. Last night, Packers-Bears, Packers-Vikings, Packers-Lions. Like, not every division has big-time rivalries going on in them. You look at the AFC South. When you think of all the teams in the AFC South, who's the Jaguars' biggest rivalry? Who's the Texans? Who's the Colts? Who's the Titans? Who's their biggest rivalry? You can't really pinpoint that. Maybe the Texans Jaguars is the biggest rivalry in that division.
Maybe.
I could see John Harbaugh going somewhere where there is a big rivalry in a division. I can, because he has that experience of being in a big rivalry. My thought, though, is Kansas City, they still have to decide on Andy Reid. They haven't made that decision yet.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to make that decision till probably March. Maybe even the week of the Super Bowl, they make that decision so they can start moving forward. It wouldn't surprise me if they make a decision to move forward with Andy and bring John in. Kansas City. Part of me feels like Andy might be done in Kansas City, and John goes there and coaches that team, having Patrick Mahomes, one of the most successful quarterbacks in this era. But then him going to New York with the Giants, having that nice, young, fresh crew, like you talked about, wouldn't surprise me either. It wouldn't. So, and him in Cleveland, I think Cleveland's more of a long shot, because when you look at Shedeur Sanders, there's parts of him that remind you of Lamar Jackson. Parts of him. Not everything. And the rumors are out there that him and Lamar did not get along.
Yeah.
So him going to Cleveland and having Shedeur as his guy, I don't know. That fit kind of doesn't make me feel confident that he would end up in Cleveland. I would say this: if he were to end up in Cleveland, I think he would have to make a decision on his quarterback, and Shedeur probably wouldn't be it. Shedeur probably wouldn't be it. And that if I was a Cleveland fan, that wouldn't make me happy, because Shedeur showed a lot of promise the back end of this year.
Yeah.
Even though he didn't go, like, he went out and won the last 2 games of the season for one. Division rivals as well, Steelers and Bengals. So he went out and won those ball games. And meaningless ball games. Meaningless ball game at the end of the year. Who cares? He still went out and won the game. Didn't put up bad statistics. He's a rookie quarterback. He's going to make mistakes. He's not going to look the best statistically.
Yeah.
And that's the other thought process that really boggles my mind nowadays is people look at rookie quarterbacks and think they got to go out there and make a splash right away. They're not. Some of them are not going to. Look at Caleb last year. Everybody thought Caleb Williams was going to be this big, savior quarterback to come in and take Chicago to the promised land in his first year. Started off that way, but then once they met Washington in that thriller of a game, I believe it was like week 7 or something like that, pretty much almost went to overtime, last play of the game. And after that loss, that was it. They dropped 10, 11 games in a row.
Yeah.
But now Caleb bounced back, and look where the Bears are now. They're going to the divisional round of the playoffs. And now they sit and wait on who they got to play. So
I will say this too, about the thing you said about with Shedeur and Harbaugh. So with Harbaugh and Lamar, from what I've read, I think it's a maturity thing from Lamar Jackson. And I think by now Harbaugh is probably fed up with trying to develop Lamar when he's not a rookie anymore. Like this has been a working process, I think, since he was drafted, and he's just not evolving, I think, the way that John Harbaugh would have liked. Whereas Shedeur, I mean, if you listen to him in post interviews, win or lose, I never hear the guy say anything bad about the team or his performance or anything like that. He's extremely positive, and he seems like he's already, probably one of the more, I think, mature rookies that I've seen thus far. So he doesn't seem like, at least on the surface, a hard guy to work with. So I kind of see the relationship with him and Harbaugh being a lot better, seeing as he's still learning and seeing that, again, like I said, his maturity level, I think is shining through, just everything I think he's doing right now. So I definitely think the relationship, I think, would be a lot better than you think, just based off of that alone. And like I said, I think he doesn't have to do a lot. I think, like I said, there's different play styles too. I think with him and Lamar. Lamar likes to run. He really doesn't he's not comfortable in the pocket very often. He likes to run. Whereas Shedeur, I think, is definitely more comfortable in the pocket. He gets a clean pocket, and he creates magic for sure. So again, I think that's something that Harbaugh would look at and definitely appreciate a little bit more, because I think when Lamar first came in the league and he sees how much he's running, he wasn't used to that because Joe Flacco didn't do any of that very often. So yeah, that's that. I just don't think he ever really played to Harbaugh's liking. He just allowed Lamar to do it because, again, Lamar, obviously refused to be a pocket passer, and he's just naturally going to run anyway. So I could definitely see that relationship being a lot better though than I think some people would think. So who knows?
Well, one thing with Shedeur Sanders is when he talks to the media, he doesn't take any crap. He doesn't. People try and get a hot take out of him or a soundboard out of it. Yeah, sound bite. Thank you. A sound bite out of him, and he's just like, "You want me to say this? Just so you guys have something to report about." Yeah. I'm sorry. I was listening to what you were saying, but I was also reading something really quick. I have a feeling a head coaching position may open up this afternoon, and that is Matt LaFleur out in Green Bay. I have a feeling he might get fired today.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
There's a lot of talk about it, a lot of chatter about it right now. It's saying that the future in Green Bay for him is very, very glim. And this is per Adam Schefter. As we know, Adam Schefter is one of a very big of a reliable source.
Yes.
And this is what he stated, that former Packers president Bob Harlan, and this is Adam Schefter's words, so I got to credit him for this. Former Packers president Bob Harlan is royalty in Green Bay. His son Brian is an agent who represents John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh has a deep Midwestern root and ties. So if the Packers decide they want to change head coaches, Harbaugh would be the most logical replacement. This is per Adam Schefter. I have a feeling Matt LaFleur might be out of Green Bay today.
Crazy.
We might get a coaching firing today. And that's if Green Bay goes and reaches out to John Harbaugh and his agency and everything.
I could kind of see Harbaugh in Green Bay. Maybe so.
What he would do going into the NFC North, man. Whew. Man.
Yeah.
Like, just think if Harbaugh goes in there and he turns Green Bay. I mean, Green Bay doesn't need a lot of work.
No, that's what I'm saying.
They just
it's all about that foundation.
They need to be straightened out.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's it.
Can you imagine Harbaugh goes there and turns that team around a little bit?
I could see it. I really could.
I mean, the Lions, they had all the advantage the past couple of years to run that division, and they may have lost their window.
Yeah,
especially if Harbaugh goes to Green Bay. That's nuts. Well, I mean, I'm going to keep my eye on this and see if we have any breaking news before we get off air today. I honestly don't think this happens until probably for another hour. I would say probably noontime. This will probably happen. I don't see this happening during the games today. I don't think they're going to try and take headlines away from these games today. You don't want to take away from playoff games that are happening. I mean, it's one game an hour, basically.
Yeah.
So I don't think if anything happens, I mean, even if Matt LaFleur gets fired today, I feel like the headline will be will take place tomorrow, Tuesday, to where we get the announcement. But, you never know. I'm just trying to we'll try and keep up with it as we go on here and see if we get any breaking news as far as Matt LaFleur and Green Bay. And there was a lot of talk about his future before they kicked off against Chicago, whether he's going to stick around in Green Bay or whether Green Bay decides to move on from him. And there was a lot of talk about his extension because his contract is up in 2026. So we talk about whether he gets extended or not in Green Bay. And if you look at Matt LaFleur the past couple of years, he got Green Bay to the playoffs, but they were the 7 seed these last 3 years. Basically fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in that position. You want to lock up your division and get in guaranteed in a home playoff game. Or if you're gonna get in, make sure you lock up a 5 or 6 seed. Because you don't want to be fighting in week 18 for a final playoff position. Now, Green Bay, they clinched the playoffs like 2 weeks in advance. When they took on Baltimore on that Saturday night, they already had the playoff spot locked in. But you don't want to be in those positions.
No.
You don't. And yeah, you were the first ever 7 seed in the NFC side of things, and you made history by going out and beating Dallas. But since then, and that was 2 years ago, since then, what have you gone to show for it being a 7 seed? You went out and lost to Philadelphia last year. You go out and lost to Chicago this year. And now the last 2 teams that you played in the wild card round of the playoffs may end up facing each other next week in the divisional round if Philadelphia wins today. So, I mean, Matt LaFleur, I think he's out. I think he's out in Green Bay. I have a feeling we get that announcement. And it may come in the next hour. We'll have to keep our eye on it. That's crazy. That's crazy. As far as Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh, though, I think Pittsburgh respectfully lets him walk. I don't think they fire him mid-season. Even if he comes back next year, I don't think they fire him mid-season. They'll let him finish. John Harbaugh got that respect this year.
Yeah. Mike
Tomlin, a long tenured coach that he is, he is now the second longest tenured coach. So I think Pittsburgh will give him that respect. So, Cam, let's take 30 seconds. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about Super Wildcard Weekend when we come back here on the Huddle Hub podcast. All right, so make sure you're heading over to the Huddle Up Podcast over on social media after the show today. You're going to head over to the X and the TikTok. You're going to hit that follow button over on the YouTube at the Huddle Up Pod. You're going to hit that subscribe button. That's how you follow on the YouTube. And also, you're going to hit that follow button on the Twitch channel if you were watching on the Twitch channel today. All of our social media links are in the bio in the Twitch channel, so you can click on whatever link you desire to, because I know not everybody uses X. I was talking about this yesterday, Cam, that mostly everybody uses TikTok now. Like, if you're not on TikTok, you know, it's a surprise when you hear people say, oh, I'm not on TikTok nowadays. But on X, it's not much of a surprise. I know everybody doesn't use it, and YouTube's been around for, you know, since the Stone Age. So just make sure you head over to the Huddle Hub Podcast over on TikTok and X. If you use both, hit that follow button on the YouTube, hit the subscribe button, and help us build the Huddle Hub Podcast going through the rest of the NFL playoffs and beyond. I found a new way to say it now, you know, because I kind of had to, like, you know, restructure, because I got so used to saying through the 2025 season and beyond. You know, now the 2025 regular season is over. We're in 2026. It's like I can't say 2026 season yet because we're not there. So it's like, okay, NFL playoffs. And when I made my pick video the other day, because I post my weekly picks on the socials every week, right? It took me 15 takes to get it right because I was so used to saying 2025 season and beyond. Like, I'm like, no, Mike, no. NFL playoffs, NFL play. It took me a lot of retakes and stuff to get that video done, and it's only a 15-second video. Like, man, the takes that I had to take, man. Well, Cam, on Tuesday night, me and John go live 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got the first annual Huddy Awards. The Huddies. They're here. First annual. So, and then you'll be presenting yours next Sunday.
Yes.
Part of your Huddies next week. So, me and John will do Tuesday. And then for just so you don't have to do yours alone, I will repeat mine next week on Sunday. That way we can do them together. Okay? I won't leave you to doing it on your own. We'll do ours together. So we have the Huddies coming up this week, Tuesday and then Sunday. So join us 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday night, myself and John, and then me and Cam back here next Sunday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Me and John also have our pick challenge. And me going into the postseason was up by one game. And because of last night, I am now down by one game. How tides change, man. Me and John only have two games picked the same this week, and that's the Bills and the Patriots. That's it. So John can end up taking a 3-game lead by the end of the week, or I can end up regaining a 1-game lead on him if the Eagles win and the Steelers win. So, because I took the Steelers and John took the Texans on Monday night. And obviously I took the Eagles and he took the 49ers. College football pick challenge, John won that, but we both won this week. We both took Miami and Indiana to go to the national title game. So I do have to fix the numbers on there. I'm 19-6 and he's 23-2 now. And we have 1 game left. So he locked up the college football pick challenge this year. So first one that we did. So I still have a chance. So, yeah, let's get into it. Wild card weekend continues today. So let's get into these games. Starting off with the Buffalo Bills heading out to Jacksonville to take on the AFC South champion Jacksonville Jaguars. Cam, what do you got on the Bills and the Jaguars?
Oh, boy. I am nervous for the Bills. They definitely have struggled this year. And it's weird because, again, like I said, we talked about it before. We talked about it, and we can sit here and talk about it again until we're blue in the face about, like I said, the Chiefs are a non-factor. They're not even in the playoffs. They're sitting at home watching the playoffs unfold right now. Lamar Jackson, not a factor, gone. Joe Burrow, not a factor, gone. So all of these major threats in the AFC have been non-factors pretty much this whole season. You would think that this would be the Bills' best season this far, and it's not, and it hasn't been. They've lost 2 games that earlier this season that I would like to focus on in discussing this particular game, and it was an issue with their run defense. It was when they lost to the Dolphins earlier this season, and it was when they lost to the Falcons. When they lost to the Falcons, they had Bijan Robinson, and he pretty much ran all over the field on them. Had about 170 yards rushing, and then against the Dolphins, Devon Achane had 174 rushing yards against them as well. So that is a problem. I think if the Jaguars can get their run game going, the Bills might be in trouble. I think so. I really don't think Trevor Lawrence has to throw very often. If that's what's working. If it's working, you stick to it, right? So I'm very nervous with the Bills because they just have been very shaky this entire season. And if they lose, I mean, I would say they're I don't know. This is like a legacy game for them. This is a legacy game for Josh Allen, Mr. MVP himself, right? Because where do you even go from here if you lose this game? I mean, everybody's expecting you to make the Super Bowl now that these threats in the AFC are not a fact are not factors. So very nervous for him, very nervous for the Bills. The Jaguars could run away with this if they have been playing the way they have been. Trevor Lawrence is on a career year. The man is just balling out left and right. So he can use his legs. Obviously, he can rush for a touchdown. He can throw for touchdowns. We've seen him do that. So he's just a threat all over the field. So this is, if I'm the Buffalo Bills, I'm not taking the Jaguars lightly, and they definitely need to come out, should probably strike first, I would say, and definitely tighten down on their defense, which has struggled pretty much all year.
I'll say this, Trevor Lawrence, he has definitely improved since last year. Definitely improved since last year. You look at his statistics, he's improved in offense or touchdown passes. Yeah, threw a couple more interceptions than he did he threw less interceptions this year.
Yeah, he did.
So he had a fairly good season. But him taking on this Buffalo defense, I think Buffalo's defense might surprise him today. I think it might. That Buffalo defense has had their bad games this year. They've also had some really, really good games. I think Buffalo, if anything, the offensive side of the ball is where they're really going to have to work today. Because Jacksonville's defense is no pushover. They're not. I've watched a couple Jacksonville games this year. Their defense, very, very good defense. And if Jacksonville can take control of this game, Jacksonville can end up winning this game. They've taken control of games this year that in some situations did not think they were going to take control of, and they won. Buffalo, on the other hand, you're right. If they don't start off hot, there's a chance they end up losing this game. We talked about it earlier. Buffalo has the door wide open to them. No Lamar Jackson, no Patrick Mahomes, no Joe Burrow in this playoff. The only real threat of stopping Josh Allen from him getting to where he needs to be is Aaron Rodgers out in Pittsburgh, because Aaron Rodgers has been in situations like this before, many a times in his career. I'll say this. I got Buffalo winning this game today. I do. I think Jacksonville, they had a great season, but the experience factor is going to kick in. And yeah, Trevor Lawrence has been in the playoffs before. He has been. But he didn't have the season that he had this year going in. Let's just say that. Buffalo wants this. Buffalo's going to be more hungry in this game. It was the last year in the Old Highmark. They played their last game at Old Highmark last week. They got motivation. They want to go into the new Highmark raising a Lombardi trophy. They want to open those doors on opening day next year with the Lombardi trophy standing right dead center for when everybody walks in. Now, do I personally think that's going to happen? Personally, no. But it could. I think some people are overlooking Buffalo today because of how good Jacksonville was this year. You look at the matchups, and Jacksonville had a slightly tough schedule, but Buffalo, I think, had a slightly tougher schedule. So I think Buffalo goes in with a lot of momentum today and takes on this Jacksonville team with a vengeance. And I think Buffalo pulls this one out. I think they shock a lot of people. Again, records now don't matter. It doesn't matter if you went 15-2, 14-3, 11-6, 8-9. Doesn't matter. It's playoff time. This is a whole new monster, and Josh Allen has a lot of experience in these situations where Trevor Lawrence doesn't have much. So if you're underestimating Buffalo today, I would really, really rethink that. So in the 4 o'clock set, we got the San Francisco 49ers heading out to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Cam, this matchup has happened before. A couple years ago, the NFC Championship game took place in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia completely dominated San Francisco on their way to Super Bowl 57, where they ultimately lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. Then 2 years later, end up facing the Chiefs again and beating them in Super Bowl 59. Cam, what do you got on the 49ers and Eagles?
Well, this is looking like a 49ers revenge game. Because in that game, I do believe Brock Purdy did get hurt, I believe, in the first quarter. And the Eagles pretty much just ran away with it. So definitely a revenge game for the 49ers here. I don't know. I said this could go either way. I think the Niners are looking really good. Kyle Shanahan, I would say, definitely deserves some kind of recognition or reward just for keeping this team alive. They probably shouldn't even be in this position or in the playoffs at all, given the ups and downs and the injuries that they've had all season. So, I mean, just kudos to him just for keeping this team alive and keeping this team on the right track to be, again, even competing for in the playoffs in general. And then with the Eagles, the same thing, really. It's been up and down. They started off hot, I think, and then they kind of struggled there, I think, mid-season. And I think they're really starting to pull things together as well. Honestly, I don't know. This could go either way, like I said. I honestly think it's going to be the battle of the defenses. I think they both have good defenses right now. More so just, more over the, just their offenses, I think. So really going to be the battle of the defenses. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game necessarily because of that reason. So it's really just going to come down to fatigue, like who gets tired first with these defenses. So it's definitely going to be a battle.
If you watch the San Francisco-Seattle game last week, I wouldn't sit here and say that the 49ers are defeated. I wouldn't. They had a bad game last week against Seattle. Every team has a bad week. Some cases, teams have bad weeks. And I've been saying this for a while now, San Francisco, as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, this is the Philadelphia Eagle fan in me coming out. So let me turn that switch for a second. Let me become the unbiased podcaster and become the biased podcaster as a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Switch. As an Eagles fan, this 49ers team scares the hell out of me. You watch that offense and the way that offense can attack, they can take on and take down any defense they face. Last week against Seattle, you didn't see that offense. It's like the offense just completely disappeared. I think San Francisco knows that, and I think they are very aware of what happened last week. Brock Purdy, he got beat up last week. So could that be an advantage for Philadelphia? It could be, pending on how Brock Purdy is, because we haven't heard anything about Brock Purdy's condition and his status on how he's feeling. Nothing. Absolutely nothing on how he's feeling. Ricky Pearsall's main wide receiver, he's questionable. He's been on and off the field since he got drafted, basically, last year. He missed the first 7-8 weeks because of a I got to say this properly because I don't want to get in trouble. A weapon struck him. Okay? If you don't know, go look it up. That's all I got to say. Comes back, has a hell of a back end of a season last year, even though the 49ers went 6-11 and didn't make the playoffs. It showed promise for this team for this year. And then you go out, then fast forward to this year, Brock Purdy out the first couple weeks. Mac Jones comes in, takes over, keeps this team's head above water all the way to last week to where they're fighting for the division championship, number 1 seed in the playoffs, home field advantage, everything. And it's like they didn't show up. I think this 49ers team shows up today. I do. I think this San Francisco team shows up today. It is going to be a battle. And I'm with you on that. I think it's going to be whoever gets tired first loses this ball game. Whatever defense folds first. And that's where Philadelphia's experience comes in. That's where their experience of transitioning guys in and out through plays comes in. If San Francisco wants to get ahead of that thing, they're going to have to get up on that line. Continually run that offense. Don't huddle up and just keep going. Hurry up offense, hurry up offense, hurry up offense. Keep the same defensive guys on the field. That's what they're going to need to do. Because Philadelphia's defense, they know how to play 4 quarters of football. They've proven that. Monday night, Green Bay snuck away with a win, but that defense showed the integrity that they have. This is going to be, and I said this to John, this is probably the most even matchup in the playoffs next to the Bears and Packers. The most even matchup. And it's going to be a great ball game today. And if Philadelphia loses, am I going to be upset? No. I'm going to be happy for the 49ers. I'm going to say congratulations to John, as I always do when the 49ers beat the Eagles. Going to move forward. Now, if the Eagles win this week and then move on to the divisional round and lose, will I be a little upset? Yes. The most upset I'll be is if we make it to the conference title game and then lose, because that's one step away from Super Bowl 60. You don't want to get to the conference title game just to lose. That's rough. So I think this is the game of the weekend. And Cam, I got to disagree with you. I have a feeling this might turn into a shootout. I do. I have a feeling this might turn into a shootout. Philadelphia, they had a lot of distractions in that locker room this year. And I think that's what kept them from being the better team than they should have been. A lot of distractions, a lot of chatter. Trade A.J. Brown, fire Nick Sirianni, all that crap. You get rid of that crap, you're going to start winning ball games. And what they do, they got rid of that crap. Started winning ball games again. Just at the right time. But again, that San Francisco offense scares me because of the way they attack. And I think San Francisco can be one of the most dangerous, if not the most dangerous team in the NFC side of the playoffs. And I think one thing is on their mind. Super Bowl's in our house this year. We have plenty of Super Bowls, but let's go win this one because it's at home. So this is going to be a great game today. And I think this is the game of the weekend. And I'm not just saying that unbiased, turn back on. I'm not just saying that because I'm an Eagles fan. I think that this is the game of the weekend. It's going to turn into a shootout. These defenses are going to play tough, and it's going to come down to the defense that doesn't fatigue first. And I think this will be the highest scoring game in the playoffs this week. And we've already had high scores, 34 points yesterday. 30. I mean, you look at the Packers had 27. The Bears had 31. The Panthers had 31. The Rams had 34. This could be one of the highest scoring games in the playoffs this week. Could be. Could also be one of the lowest scoring. Who knows? Could be. We'll have to see. On Sunday Night Football, we got the Los Angeles Chargers heading out to New England to take on the Patriots. The Patriots, they finished 14-3 this year, had a really good year. Drake May, MVP candidate. The Chargers, their quarterback's a little beat up going into this game. Cam, what do you got on the Chargers and Patriots?
Yeah, Justin Herbert's beat up because he gets absolutely thrashed every game he's in pretty much. I don't know how they've been able to last this long with just how beat up he gets in some of these games. And I think this game's going to be no different, except this time I don't think there's any bouncing back. I really don't. I think the Patriots, they're definitely going to make him uncomfortable. That defense is going to make him uncomfortable in the pocket. And I would say they get to him several times, I would say, in this game. And they close this one out. I'm honestly thinking that this is going to be the one blowout, I think, of the weekend. I think the Patriots run away with this one. The Chargers just don't scare me at all. They just don't. And again, like I said, it just all comes down to protecting Justin Herbert, and they just haven't been able to do that this season very well. So I definitely think the Patriots come away with this one in an easy victory, really.
I'll agree with you. I think the Patriots will go out and blow the Chargers out. I said to my mom yesterday, I said, the Sunday night game tomorrow night, it's not really intriguing to watch. The Chargers are there. They're there. They're in the playoffs. Good for them. Because they had a good, decent start. But then midway through, they lose all their running backs. They lose Najee Harris very early in the season. Omarion Hampton goes down. I mean, they had basically zero run game. And now Omarion Hampton may be out today. He may not play. He's questionable. I think the Patriots go out and dominate this game. I think this is going to be the game where people can just sit back, relax, and if you want to watch a team get the crap kicked out of them, this is that game. Now, I know a lot of people said that about the Panthers and Rams. And I was like, I would not underestimate the Panthers. Underestimate the Chargers. Underestimate the Chargers. Chargers are going home today. That's happening. Drake May all season has shown that he could be the rightful MVP of this season. Matthew Stafford, he has 46 touchdowns. Go look up how many 1-yard touchdown passes he has. It's about 20. Okay? So take away those 20 1-yard touchdown passes. He only has 26 touchdown passes on the year. Okay? In a situation to where a team normally runs the ball, he passed. A little dump-off pass to Davante Adams. That's why Davante Adams holds the record for most 1-yard touchdowns catches, because that's what it was. So Drake May, realistically, is probably league MVP. But they'll probably give it to Matthew Stafford. Why? Because Matthew Stafford is a veteran who I believe has never seen league MVP. I think once. I think he got it once when the Rams won a couple years ago when he first went to Los Angeles. I think he might have had it that year. I'm not sure. I'll have to look at that. 10 years straight, 4,000 passing yard seasons. 37 years old, possibly done after this year. So will they give it to him? Probably. But Drake May, go look at his statistics. He probably deserves it more. Probably does. This is going to be a sit back, relax, eat your dinner, and just chill out, calm type of game. Because the Patriots are going to go and blow out the Chargers today. Chargers are going home. And I'm sorry to say it, Chargers fans. Your team had a huge opportunity to possibly run the table this year, go 15-2 at least, had an easy schedule, and you made it harder on yourself. Way harder on yourself. So, yeah, this is definitely a game I think the Patriots run away with. Hold on 1 second. Barks at everything. Jeez. Somebody walks by the house and she looks out the window. Row, row. Don't start. She did this to me yesterday while I was live. Yeah, she did this to me yesterday. Somebody walked by with their dog and she was going nuts, and I'm like, why do you have to always bark? Like, you're not going to do anything. Chill out. On Monday Night Football, we got the Houston Texans heading out to Pittsburgh to take on the AFC North champion Pittsburgh Steelers. Cam, this is the first time the Houston Texans are in the playoffs without winning their division. Yes, which means they don't have a home playoff game. The Steelers, on the other hand, went out, won the division last week in a thriller against Baltimore to get into the playoffs. Cam, what do you got on Houston and Pittsburgh on Monday night?
I'm excited. I'm excited about this game. I would say that I saw someone say that the Texans are the underdogs, and that they would come up with the upset here. I think it's the other way around. I definitely think I think the Steelers are the underdogs here, and I don't mind it, because all I keep hearing about is Texans defense, which is great. I get it, but for me, I haven't heard anything about their offense. I haven't heard anything about what they're going to do on offense, or what CJ Stroud is going to do. And I don't think they've played a team like Pittsburgh this season. I really don't think they've faced a pass rush like as relentless as the Steelers have right now. So for me, I think they're at a disadvantage in that regard. I think, like I said, the key here is to make CJ Stroud just uncomfortable in that pocket as much as humanly possible. So if they do that, they provide that pressure that they need up front. I think this is going to be a very difficult game and a rough go for the Texans in this game. Pittsburgh, like I said, there's a lot riding on this. I'm not so much looking at records of them being undefeated on Monday night or whatever. The record I'm primarily focused on and worried about, I guess, in this game is the fact that they haven't won a playoff game in like 7 years. So they definitely, if they want to make a statement, if they want to ride the wave of momentum that they have after that thriller, as you said, beating the Ravens to get into the playoffs, they really need to win this game. And like I said again, I think it's a game that they love to have. I said this again, when they played the Ravens, they love having their backs against the wall. They love being doubted and then going out there and then proving all the doubters wrong. ESPN, somebody, I forget who said this, at the beginning of the season, literally had said that he thought that the Steelers were going to go 1-5. 1-5 to start the season. And look at where they are now. So again, this is just their ball. This is just their wheelhouse. They love doing this. They love playing from underneath. They love being the underdogs. Now again, to my disliking, because it's just not good for my health personally as a Steelers fan. But again, this is just what the organization likes to do. So honestly, I think this, once again, I think this is a Steelers game to win, just to be doubted. And counted out against the Texas defense. But again, like I said, for their offense now, definitely, as you had said, I think believe you said this about the Eagles. They also do one thing very, very well on offense, and I think that is their hurry up offense. When they just go with the no huddle, it's so much better, and that was so noticeable against the Ravens, because when they go into the huddle and they come out of the huddle, it's always a very predictable play call. Always. It's always just check down. It's always him, Rodgers throwing behind the line of scrimmage. And I hate that so much, because sometimes it works and it's not bad. It's like, okay, you gain some yards, you gain 5 yards, you gain 3 yards, whatever. But other times when you get absolutely flushed out and it's just, you get swarmed, and it's like, okay, you lost 5 yards. Now you're even further back from your first down. So I hate when they do that. But their hurry up offense, I think, is so much better, and I think it's something that Rodgers definitely leans more so than the huddle, because he's always, every time that he snaps the ball, he's always looking downfield, always. So he can throw. He's got an amazing arm right now. Even at this stage of his career, he's got an amazing arm. He definitely could throw downfield. So he's always looking downfield. So I just don't understand why they always go for these little short passes or throwing underneath when they don't need to. It's them playing it safe. And I think if they do that early on, or they have a start like they did against the Ravens, it's going to be a bad day for the Steelers. So definitely need to start off hot. They got DK Metcalf back, so they've got the deep threat back. So definitely find a way to get him open and create some plays there. And I think they're good. I honestly think that the Steelers are going to win this game. I said the same thing against Detroit. Everybody was warning me about Detroit, how Detroit's offense is very good, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And you look what happened there. They beat Detroit. So I'm honestly not worried. The defense is a little scary, I will admit, but I think they can get around that. I really do, if they just really focus in and start this game off hot and keep their foot on the gas. That's the main thing.
My focus all season has been on Aaron Rodgers. Okay. You look at his stat comparison. Yeah, he threw 575 less yards this year than he did last year. 4 less touchdowns, but also 4 less interceptions. Turned the ball over less this year. Okay. He had a 63 completion percentage last year, opposed to his 65.7 completion percentage this year. 90.5 rating last year. 94.8 this year. I think Aaron Rodgers improved in many areas this season. Said at the beginning of the year, I said I think he's going to do much better out in Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh's in the playoffs this year. The Jets weren't last year. So I think Aaron Rodgers improved. I do. I think him in Pittsburgh was a good fit. I didn't say great. Good. I know the questions are going to be out there. Does he come back next year? We don't have to worry about that right now. What needs to be worried about is this game against Houston. And Houston's defense is a top 10 defense, probably the best defense in the league this year, especially back end, because that defense was relentless the back end of the season. If you were playing fantasy football, you wanted the Houston Texans as your defense. You did. I had them. And I was very fortunate to have them because they helped me get 2 more wins than I had last year. 3-11 last year, 5-9 this year. 8th place this year, last place last year. So, and the little dump off passes out of the backfield. Watching the Pittsburgh Steelers games that I was able to watch this year, because being in Pennsylvania, obviously we get a lot of Steelers games on CBS. Almost every Steelers game on CBS, as a matter of fact. Watching the Steelers games that I've watched this year, the little dump-off passes out of the backfield, I prefer Kenneth Gainwell over Jaylen Warren in those situations. Why? Because Gainwell seems to be able to fight for the yards, opposed to Jaylen Warren. Not saying Jaylen Warren's a bad running back, but he's not an out-of-the-backfield pass catcher like Kenneth Gainwell is. And Kenneth Gainwell has that experience coming out of Philadelphia, because Philadelphia ran that a lot when he was there. So bringing Kenneth Gainwell in for that specialty alone was beneficial to Pittsburgh's offense. Now, as far as the offenses, I think the offenses are very evenly matched. I do. Houston, their defense is a tough defense, but Pittsburgh, they've been able to show that they can hold their own on defense. It's a very good matchup. Very, very good match. And it's probably, again, just like Philadelphia and San Francisco, just like Chicago and Green Bay. On the AFC side of things, the most even matchup on the AFC side of things. It's an even matchup, and it's going to be a great Monday night game. As far as the history, yeah, Pittsburgh's 23-0 since 1996 on Monday Night Football. This game's on Monday Night Football. May be beneficial for Pittsburgh just to have that thought and aura of, man, we got to keep our record alive. Because so many teams in Pittsburgh history has done it on Monday night to keep this record alive, 23-0. We got to keep it going. That could be motivation for this team, just for that record alone. And Aaron Rodgers, if you wanted any quarterback to be in that type of situation, Aaron Rodgers at 42, 43 years old is probably the guy that you want. Not a young guy that's going to go out and sling his arm around to try and get an offense going. You want a guy that's going to go out there and be calm, cool, collective, and has the mindset of, you want something done, I can get it done. And at 42 years old, Aaron Rodgers is able to go do that this year for Pittsburgh in many situations. Pittsburgh won 10-7. They won their game last week in a thriller by 2 points. Ride that momentum. Now, Cam, I think I told you this off air. I've never said this on air. Yes, I am a diehard Eagles fan. But do I have an AFC team that I root for? Yeah, I do. I have an AFC team that I root for, just in case, let's say the Eagles don't make the playoffs. I need a team to root for, because I don't want to just be sitting watching a game and I want to root for a team. The Houston Texans have always been my AFC team since 2002. Okay? They have been. And sitting here last week, I'm thinking, who do I root for in this game? Because I've been pulling for Pittsburgh all season. I have been. Been pulling for them all season, because I believe that Aaron Rodgers going into Pittsburgh was a very good thing, and that he was going to help that team get to the playoffs and win their division and possibly get their first playoff win in damn near 10 years. Because the last time they won a playoff game was 2016. Last time. This is a tough game to pick from for me, and a tough game to decide who I'm going to root for. Am I going to be pulling for Houston to win? Yeah, I am, because they're my AFC team. But it would be awesome to see Pittsburgh go out and win this game today or Monday night. It would be. Still haven't picked who I'm rooting for. And that'll probably be a game time decision. But right now, it's leaning more towards Pittsburgh. It is. It's leaning more towards Pittsburgh. But I'll still be rooting for Houston to do a good job. Tough game to pick and root for, Cam. Tough game. That's it for Super Wildcard Weekend. And the matchups we got going on. Me and John will be back on Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to recap Super Wildcard Weekend. We're going to recap the college football playoffs as well. Get you guys ready for the national championship game. We also got the first annual Huddle Hub Awards, the Huddies. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday. And then me and Cam will be back next Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to get you guys ready for divisional round Sunday. I will be back on Saturday as well to get you guys ready for the Saturday games because there are Saturday games next week. And as I announced last week that the schedule is going to be a little hectic these next couple weeks. So we'll be live Tuesday. I'll be live Saturday. Me and Cam will be back on Sunday. Make sure you're heading over to the Huddle Hub Podcast on social media, on X, TikTok, at the Huddle Hub Pod. You're going to hit the follow button on YouTube. You're going to hit the subscribe button. That's how you follow on YouTube. All of our links to our social medias are in the Twitch bio. You just click on the link that you desire to go to and help us build the Huddle Hub Podcast through the rest of the NFL playoffs and beyond. So, Cam, that's all we got. Just one more quick bit of news that just came out. A couple inactives for today's game. First off, for the Jaguars, wide receiver Dyami Brown, running back DJ Dallas, offensive lineman Cole Van Lanen, tight end Hunter Long, defensive lineman Emmanuel Ogba, and defensive tackle Mason Smith. Some key inactives for the Jaguars today. And then for Buffalo, linebacker Terrell Bernard, safety Darnell Savage, running back Ty Johnson, cornerback Maxwell Harrison, offensive tackle Tylen Grable, tight end Kaliki Latu, and defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi. Those are the inactives for the Bills today. So Buffalo and Jacksonville, man, going into this one with a couple beat up guys, which is rough. Cam, your social medias are going to be on the bottom. Check out Cam's Wrestling Corner over on TikTok. Great videos if you're into pro wrestling and you want a very, very good perspective and perspective on professional wrestling. I'm not just saying it because this man is digitally sitting next to me. Head over to Cam's Wrestling Corner after the show. Hit that follow button and check out his content. Cam, what do you got going on?
Like I said, as you were saying, like I said, definitely keep with me on Cam's Wrestling Corner. I'm the most active on there in terms of personal content. And then, of course, in terms of the networks right here on the Huddle Hub Podcast, with me and Mike every single Sunday morning talking about some football. Next week, we'll be getting you ready for the divisional round of the playoffs as well. Very excited for that. And then, of course, on River City Radio, every single Monday night with me and Metalcore Mike talking about Monday Night Raw, and then again on River City Radio Wednesday night with me, Metalcore Mike, and the addition of Phil Khan talking about some AEW Dynamite after AEW Dynamite on the Boom. The table spot was on Monday if I didn't already say that as well. Again, love and appreciate all you guys come by and checking out the stream this morning.
Whew, I had to catch my breath. All right, so make sure you're heading over and checking out everything that Cam is doing, not only here on the Huddle Podcast, but over on Root City Radio and Off the Top Media as well, with me on Monday nights and with me and Phil on Wednesday nights for the Boom. As Cam said, you can find me on Instagram, X, TikTok, and Snapchat, MiddleMike714. Now, as Cam said, Monday nights, we are on the table spot. Tomorrow's our day off because Raw is on at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We're going to be taking, I told you this already and announced it yesterday that we were going to be taking the day off tomorrow. So day off to kind of like chill out and relax. We've been running hard. We deserve a day off.
Yeah.
We deserve it. We can sit back and relax, and we're going to take that day tomorrow to just chill out and relax and enjoy wrestling for what it is, opposed to, worrying about whether they give us something to talk about or not, and Cam, you said something to me yesterday about looking at the perspective of pro wrestling and going into the new year with a very, positive look at pro wrestling. And I thought about the same thing. I said to myself, you know what? Like, I want to do the same thing. I want to go into this year with a positive look on pro wrestling as well. And I'm not afraid to show this. I had a burst out on Friday because, WWE made a decision that I didn't like. And I was a child about it. I'll just say that. So,
I mean, you can feel how you want to feel. I'm just saying, like, starting off the year with a clean slate, because something about either WWE or AEW is going to piss us off anyway. So
definitely
leave that stuff that happened 2025 and 2025. That's all I'm saying.
I thought about my outburst on Saturday morning. And I was like, man, I was a fucking child yesterday. Like, man, I want to go into this year with a clean slate and positivity and everything like that. And I let things get the best of me. I did. So. But I'm with you on that. Clean slate, positivity going into the year. But we do deserve a day off. And since Raw is on at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, we'd be going live at like 5 in the evening. We deserve a day off.
Yeah.
So
That's
you know,
fair.
we're gonna take. We ran hard during the holidays, so we'll be back on Wednesday night with the boom and getting you guys all caught up and talking about AEW. So come join us on Wednesday. Me and John will be back Tuesday, guys. Have a great day of football. Good luck to your teams that they're playing because it is the playoffs.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
That's right, Coach. It's playoff time. Be good to each other. Be kind to each other. Take care of each other. Be patient with each other. Remember, the world is not moving as fast as you think. Until Tuesday night, we'll see you guys later. Deuces.